Hello and welcome to Odd Sock Comics. This is going to be both a long video because I have a lot of books to read and a short video because I can't get into too much detail right now because I'm a couple weeks behind. But I did catch up on all my books. I did pick up my books from the, while I was traveling. I picked up all my books, so I'm all caught up. And I've read all of them. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the books that I got over the last couple of weeks. So first up, we have books that released on March 13th. And first I've got here, I think this was probably my favorite. I read them kind of fast because I had a lot to get through, so I didn't dig in very much. But this is The Grim Knight, The Batman Who Laughs, The Grim Knight #1. This was a pretty good story. The art was interesting on the inside. It was a very distinct art style, and I liked that a lot. And the story was good, developing how the Grim Knight came about, how he's playing with Gordon in Lieutenant Gordon in the universe with the Batman Who Laughs and everything else, and kind of explains a little bit of that. It was a really good story. I like the art style. The art style is a little bit, it's very stylized, so if you don't like it, it's going to be really obnoxious, but I did think that it was interesting. All right, next up, I have Conan, Age of Conan Bellet. Now this is going to be a little novella set in the Conan world. I don't know the history of this character. Apparently she's the pirate queen or something along those lines and has an interaction with Conan in the historic books. I've never read any of those, so it didn't really stand out to me or have that connection. As far as developing the character, it's kind of it's a little bit of a soft character. It's a little bit of a girl who can do everything, who's super smart and super strong. We see those, they're kind of all over the place. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Some interesting stuff going on in there to give her a little bit of character. I may pick up issue 2, I may not. This one was mostly a cover by. I do think that this is a beautiful cover. I cannot remember the name. I had notes out, but I don't have them with me. But this is the same artist who did the covers of most of the Monstrous books. It's very detailed, very artistic. I do like the style a lot of the cover. And then I enjoyed the book. I don't know if I'll pick up #2. Next up, I have Little Bird #1. Now, I picked up this book. This is an image book by Darcy Van Polgeest, I think. But the reason that I picked this up was really for the art. The artist is Ian Bertram, and from what I heard, he's kind of got this surrealistic style, and surrealism is my favorite art style. I'm a huge Dali fan. I've been to the Dali Museum in Paris, and I've been around to a lot of surrealism. It's always the section in modern museums that I tend to find myself gravitating towards. And so this was a surrealist art style. And the art inside is absolutely amazing. It is really cool. It is intriguing. It's interesting. The only fault that I really have with this is the antagonist is a character that we've seen. It's a very common and simple character. It's this authoritarian religious person that's taken over the U.S. We've seen this in V for Vendetta. We've seen this in The Handmaid's Tale. It's just that story told again with a little bit of a different protagonist. So I don't know if they're going to do more. I may pick up book 2. If it doesn't give something interesting, then I'm probably going to stop with this one. But the art is very cool, and it's worth it to pick up just to look at the art. Okay, the other book that I really did like is Murder Falcon #6, and I got the heavy metal cover. I'm gonna lose it. Is this Megadeth? I think this is a Megadeth homage, and someone's gonna correct me if I'm wrong. It's Rust in Peace is the album, but I can picture it, but I can't remember if it's Megadeth or not. But anyway, this was just another good book continuing in the story. It develops Jake and his interaction with cancer and how that affected his wife and everything in a very interesting way in the middle of these really cool action scenes. The book really is everything. It's character development and it's action, and it's just fun. They did the same thing. You know, they introduced this character in the last book that was, you know, the new Power Ranger that's going to come save them. That's how I always look at this story, as just, you know, building up a bigger Megazord or whatever. But they introduced the character there. He did his thing, got them out of a situation or whatever, and now they've introduced another character. There was a new person involved that became a part of the band and saved them all. Very, very predictable, serialistic story, and it's a new character and a new, you know, big monster every time. It's fun. It's not that piece of it is very predictable, and you know, you've seen it. It's episodical, but it's fun, and I love the book. This one I'll just keep reading. Definitely going to keep going with it. I saw the number 7 cover. Looks awesome. And then this was a good week for covers. I got the 2 Art Germ covers. Now this Catwoman cover has been around for a while. I've seen it. It's been on a couple of posters and things, but now I've got it in comic book form. It's a very cool cover, obviously. You know, the picture in the background's upside down, so she's actually sliding down the rope, which is kind of fun. But oriented in the way that the book is printed. Looks like that. Same with the poster. Very cool. And then that Supergirl, I don't know if I like it too much. I kind of said I think he's been working on making his characters look more Western. And I don't, I think he may have gone a little too far, a little too chiseled. It's okay. You know, he can do his thing. I don't have to love every cover that he does. For cover price, you can't complain about it. So that was all of the books that I picked up for March 13th. Now moving on to March 20th. So this was this Wednesday. Oh, we'll do whatever one. This is first. Okay, so this was a cool cover. This is Batman number 67. This book bugged me because it's literally a chase scene that drags out for 22 pages or whatever it is that could have been condensed into a small piece in another story in like 2 pages and been just as impactful. So this is just gratuitous. It was obnoxious. I hope it doesn't happen again. This is the throwaway book of the run. You get nothing out of it. Anyway, I was very frustrated with this Batman book. Luckily, the cover was interesting. Okay, next up, I've got Guardians of the Galaxy, number 3. I picked this one up. I read it. It was, I think, forgettable. Honestly, I can't remember. I remember little details about what happened. Nova's in it. I can't really get into the details. I don't even remember too much, so that should say how memorable this one was. All right, next up I've got Knights of the Golden Sun, number 5. This was a cool book. The art inside like drew me in a couple of times, and it's a specific style and everything. I think the backgrounds are mostly computer generated, but I did really like a couple of the pictures where just the way that they did the background glowing and everything was just really drew me into the story. Story's still good. You're starting to get into what the actual Knights of the Golden Sun means, and very interesting. I think this is only supposed to be 6 issues, but it makes no sense because they kind of introduced this new, like what could be the next 4 issues as they go out and try to find these weapons that make them Knights of the Golden Sun or whatever. And so I don't know if it's ongoing or if it's going to stop at 6. We'll see, but still worth the read. I'll pick up 6 and I'll keep going with it. All right, next up I have Venom, number 13. Again, this one gives, trying to remember. You do see Venom. This is the problem right now. I read so many books and the memorable ones stick out. Like I remember Murder Falcon really well. I can't remember what happened in Venom. To me, that just means this was a little bit of a forgettable book in the story. I'm gonna have to pick it up before and read through it before I pick up the next issue. But there you have it. Not memorable. The Immortal Hulk, I remember a little bit more about this one. I did read it. It's definitely continuing with the story. Very interesting about the Hulk being the one that will end the world or something like that. And then I think it's this Samson. I can't remember who this guy is. But he's, you know, he's back. Everybody who's ever been touched by Gamma is kind of coming back together, and there's this big overarching story that's developing because of the Green Door. It's intriguing. It's a continuation of the story. It's very cool. They do not. We know that the girl that was shot in the last issue, she's gone, but she hasn't been reintroduced. So there's still that kind of hanging out in the shadows. I don't know if that's a spoiler or not. I should say that all of my reviews have the threat of spoilers. I try not to. Try to keep it pretty calm, but to me that's not a spoiler. That's like, okay, we all knew that she was shot, that she was coming back, turning red or whatever, her eyes came back on. But we were trying to figure out if she comes back in this issue, and I didn't see her. I didn't see any reference to that. Or they did reference her, but she wasn't back in it, which is one of the things I was looking for. Okay, the last book I got for this week is Marvel Action Spider-Man #2. I picked this book up for my son. He read #1 because he was given a copy of it that had a drawing by Timothy Lim addressed to him. Very, very cool thing for Timothy Lim to do. Big fan of that. But I bought him a copy of it so that he could read it as well without getting into his special comic book that's up on his wall. He liked it, and so I bought him #2 so that he could continue on with that. I didn't read it. That one's not for me, but he said that it was good. All right, now I'm going to move into some back issues. So I had a pretty interesting week. This was a couple of Saturdays ago, and I'll show you what I picked up. First I went to a flea market, and I had a really rough time at the flea market, but I picked up one book that I really wanted. So this is The Amazing Spider-Man King Size Annual #16. This is the first appearance of Monica Rambeau, and this one really fits in with my collection of kind of Bronze Age superhero women. This is, the first female Captain Marvel. Very cool. It goes with my Captain Marvel collection. Definitely happy to have it. So I picked this up for, I think, $18, which is probably about right. It might be worth a little bit more than that, but that's probably the market price. But I'm always happy when I get a Mylar with the comic books that I buy. So that one looks extra shiny in that Mylar. So I think I'm going to buy some Mylars for the collection that I'm planning to keep, and keep all of my books in Mylars. That's my, really hold on to them, don't ever sell them. That's going to be the way that I distinguish between the ones that are a permanent part of my collection and the ones that can fade out eventually. But for now I don't have very many, and Mylars are they're a solid $1 or so. So that's 5% of the cost of this book. So happy to have the book. It's in good shape. A little bit of a spine curl on that. Couple of ticks, but pretty good. Still happy to have it. Next up, I got Ms. Marvel #16. Now this is the first Raven Darkthorn, I believe is her name. It's Mystique. It's a cameo appearance in this book. Again, goes along with those Bronze Age women that I've got a lot of. This book has been at my shop for a while, and I didn't pick it up because of this crease on the edge. But I finally decided to just go ahead and pick it up because because it was the right time. It wasn't very expensive. It's an interesting book. It's Ms. Marvel #16 from the first series, and it's a good looking book. I like the squid on the front. I like Ms. Marvel. Glad to have it. All right, now I've got some newer books. So these came from a shop. So first up, this is Deadpool #10. This was a couple weeks older, and this was the first appearance of Goodnight. Not a big fan of Deadpool. Never really picked up the comic books, but I think this is a funny book. Goodnight is a parody villain anti-hero, but it's very much the Dark Knight, but the Good Knight. So this is a parody of Batman. It's pretty funny. Appreciate the character. They do it well. So I picked that up because I thought I would love to go into some detail about the shops that I have been talking to, because one of the shops that I went to drove me crazy with that comic book. So they had it, one shop had it on the shelf. I bought it for cover price. This was a week late after everybody kind of knew that it was a little bit up in the the prices on eBay and stuff were a little higher. But I still was able to get it at cover price. I went into another comic shop and the guy drove me crazy. So first of all, he was selling that book. He had about 4 of them on his shelf and he had them marked at $10. And I was like, well, I'm glad I bought it for cover price at the other shop. But then he had another book up there. I think it was Old Lady Harley with the issue that has the son of the Joker or whatever. I'm not sure exactly what that was. But that book, and he had it up there. It was in a bag and board, and I was like, oh, that's cool. If that's still available, I'll pick it up. It's supposed to be kind of a valuable book. Interesting first appearance of an interesting villain. I took it to the counter and he wanted to charge me $20 for it. It didn't have a price tag on it or anything. I thought I was going to get it for cover price plus 50 cents or $1 or whatever they were going to charge for having it bagged and boarded. But he was just charging me the market price of what it was going for on eBay. I went straight back to the shelf. I said, well, I'm not taking it for $20. Put it back on the shelf and walked out of the store. I'm never going back in that store. That was the same situation that I had with a couple of vendors at the flea market. Like if they didn't have their books priced, it's like I can go look up the value on eBay. If I want to buy these, I'll go buy them on eBay. The only reason that it is a benefit to buy them in person is that you can see the condition. But they weren't in any better condition than what I was seeing on eBay. So it's like, don't look, if you're going to sell your books, don't sell them at eBay prices. Don't use current eBay as your indicator. Figure out what your value is, what you need to get back for them. List them out at those prices. If you're higher than eBay, there's no reason to buy your books. Anyway, sorry, going off on that. I was really frustrated with a couple of sellers. But I went out to a bunch of shops. The reason that I went out was I was trying to get a hold of Marvel. So this is Hulk from, I think, 2000 or so. This is the first appearance of the Red She-Hulk, which is what people have been speculating is what's going on in the Immortal Hulk. Number 15 is the first appearance of the Red She-Hulk. Number 16 is, I guess, first cover appearance. I don't really care about that, but it's in that same storyline. I was going out looking for number 15 because earlier in the week, number 15 was going on eBay for like $2. It wasn't an interesting book at all. And then as soon as the last Immortal Hulk came out, the price shot up to like $30. So I was like, this is one where it's moved so fast, I might be able to find one of those $2 copies or $3.50 or whatever in the shops. I wasn't able to find it. I went to 3 different comic shops. I found a couple of interesting things. I did not find number 15, but I did get number 16, which also saw a bit of a spike. Interesting. And I got it for $3.50. So not too bad. That's under cover price on that one. The other book I got is The Old Guard, #1, first print. And this one was announced that it's been optioned or something like that. I've heard the story's really good. I did actually want to read the story. I haven't gotten into it yet. But I found this one just shuffling through boxes. And when I took it up to the stand, it had the price tag on it. The guy gave it to me for the price. And he said, you're lucky you found this one. I was looking through for it earlier today and I couldn't find it. We were going to mark it up. But he gave it to me for that price. So good for him for holding to his price and not trying to rack it up. And good for me for finding it. That was a good one. So the last thing I'm going to do here, and this is going to be a little bit complicated. I'm going to pull back my, I use these to mark out the area that you can see this. But I have a box here that I'm going to try to open up. So this is a big day for me. I was able to get a coupon on eBay, and so I'm going to do a quick unboxing. And like I said, I don't have a lot of time, so I got to be pretty quick about this. This is another book from my list, and I'm just going to see if I can get this opened as fast as possible. And in doing that, I'm probably going to hurt myself with my nice sharp knife, or hurt my value comic book. Okay, here we go. Okay. So this is, I'll pull my list out here in just a minute. But I've got a comic book. Happy about this one. I like it when they wrap these. It's a slab, obviously. I like it when they wrap them in bubble wrap. Typically comes here pretty good. So I was finally able to get a hold at a reasonable price of Batgirl number 12, CGC 9.8. Now this one, I'll pull this out here. Let's get that in the screen. I've got to look at that a little bit closer. This is the first time I've seen it. But this was my #1 book for the year. And I was planning on paying up to $3.25. I've bid on this book a couple of times, and I've actually bid more than $3.25 to get it. And I was never able to get it. I would bid like $3.41 and it would go for $3.46. So somebody was always bidding quite a bit higher than I was willing to pay for it. But this one was listed as a buy it now for like $3.25, I think. And there was on that day it had just been listed, and there was a 15% off coupon on eBay. So I took advantage of that and I was able to get it for like $267 or whatever that ended up being. So I've got #2 on my list. Now these were both 2 of the more expensive books on this list. So I'm a little bit behind. I'm gonna have to build up my comic fund before I'm able to pick up any more of these big books. But I'm very, very happy to have this one off the list. You can see my phone set up there and a little bit of my head. I'm gonna look at this one closely, take a look. I do have 1998, but this is a book. I think there are only about 90 of these in 9.8s. So, and that's including signature series. So this is it's a rare book. It's not highly desirable, but the people who are collecting it, there's not a lot of options for it. So very cool book. Got #2 out of 10 on my list. I think it's starting to look very clear that I will probably be able to finish off this list this year. I do have to build up those funds though. So this was my comic book haul for 2 weeks plus some back issues. So thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you got. If there's anything that stood out that I missed, let me know. I had to read these pretty quick, so I may have missed some of the key details, and I'm more than happy to go back and read something if I missed it. So let me know what I missed. And thanks. And this is my sign off. That's something that I got to work on, but thanks for watching.